Oh, hey, everybody. It's Dan coming to you live from Japan. Kind of a sickly person today. Got a nice, brand spanking new cold. I think it's a cold, probably, hopefully. Yeah. From my son, who got it from his kindergarten. So thanks a lot, random child that I don't know that brought this wonderful virus to our family. But anyway, so my apologies if I'm a little bit, if I take a little longer to load today. That's why we got our friend and man in arms, Joe, with us. Say hi to everybody, Joe.
How's everybody doing today? I hope better than Dan. I'm freshly vertical, but I'm ready to, take on some questions, talk to people in the community. Exciting.
Yeah. Yeah, well, not only is Dan kind of under the weather today, but Dan also has to wake up tomorrow, hopefully healed, to go to the SIP workshop in Tokyo. So that would be pretty interesting, and hopefully I will not have to, cancel it because I get, it's like one of those things, right? So you sleep it off and you wake up in the morning either like really, really good or even sicker. So I hope it's not the latter because I kind of really want to go.
Not those
Anyway. Yeah. It's what are you gonna do? I mean, that's one of the joys of having children. You get to catch their viruses that they bring home. Yeah, it's lots of fun. Anyway, so all right, so we had a nice action-packed week, just in general in crypto. But yeah, also just haven't really stopped working. I'm reaching out to a new university to potentially take on another Ergo course, this time a bit more technical in nature. There has also been more kind of shuffling and talking to funds, although it's a little slower now because of the market. And we are again really excited about the funding proposal, the proposal we're going to be submitting for Rosen. So as I was saying before, we put together a proposal for Catalyst for Rosen. So it's basically staking pool operator incentives for being Rosen operators, and so we are looking to submit that to Fund 10. So yeah, that's really exciting. We just kind of been cleaning it up, but for the most part, it's ready to go. So yeah, that will be coming up, and we'll give you more details as they come in. As there's more details. Just keeping at it, regardless of market conditions, and that's how we roll. How have you rolled, Joe, for the past week? How have you been rolling?
This morning, rolled out of bed. Here I am. It's been exciting. So, there's a lot of things in the Ergo ecosystem that are kind of in the quality assurance stage before mainnet. You can look at duck pools or Paideia, Rosen. You can look at Dexy. There's been some talk about new framework for SIG Gold that we'll probably get to in and around the Ergoversary, which is coming up here in about 2 weeks. So there should be a lot of great content that comes out for that event. I'm excited for it. It's one of those things. A lot of the times there's a lot of work that's being done in the back end that people don't necessarily see. And then, we rolls out on mainnet and, the kind of programmability of Ergo, the features, functionality of what's possible in the ecosystem kind of goes through a period of rapid growth. We've seen that a few times, and I would say we're kind of edging towards another kind of wave of innovation, which is really exciting to see. There's a lot of projects in the ecosystem that have been grinding through not always the friendliest conditions in terms of the broader market, but yeah, if you look at the actual functionality that it brings, in combination, we could be sitting in a whole, different ecosystem, pretty shortly, a couple months, which is really exciting to see. That type of development isn't always the sexiest in terms of the process, progress of it. We need to refactor something. Oh, we need to improve something. But getting to the quality assurance public beta stages is quite exciting. And we've got quite a few projects and products coming to market that I think really enhance the ecosystem, right? And being a programmable blockchain, that's what it's all about.
Absolutely. And actually, speaking of the Ergoversary, we're going to be making a special ZenGate video for the Ergoversary. So, look out for that. And we're looking forward to the event. I think it's going to be a lot of fun, a lot of online fun. Anyway, so what do you think, Joe? Should we talk about the bears that live around your house or around your property, or should we get some questions?
No, they're just down. I have a little pond. Come and go, drink water.
Oh, well, okay. Well, in that case, let's get to some questions then, and we'll talk about the bears later. All right. Okay, well, here's kind of a neutral market question, I would say. I don't want to get too much into specific market questions, but this is a good one. So, what are your thoughts about BTC dominance rising? So I'll take this one because to me it's kind of obvious why that's happening, and Joe, you can kind of back me up on that. It's Bitcoin. Bitcoin dominance is rising because it's Bitcoin. It's a lot more stable than anything else out there, pretty much, except for stables. People are kind of putting their money into that because they feel a little bit more, I don't know, it's less volatile, I guess. Even though, it just kind of went down today. It's still one of the least volatile cryptos outside of stables that is out there. So to me, it's just very simple. It's rising because the market is going down, but Bitcoin isn't going down as much as the rest of the market. So people are putting it into, they don't want to put it into stables. So they want to put it into something that they can still have a little bit of, price action with. And, Bitcoin is it. I don't think is going to continue. I think as soon as the market kind of, stables out and starts moving back up, Bitcoin dominance is going to go down even more than it was before all this, all these funds started pouring back into it. But yeah, it's just, it's just the stability. I mean, that's really what I think it is. What do you think, Joe?
Yeah, there's always, like a risk reward rotation that happens in, liquid investments. So that's not surprising. I would say probably, why is Bitcoin dominance rising? If I had to guess, I would say there's just been a lot of fear around SEC action, and people see that as more of a safer haven. It rotates. I don't see it as it's just kind of part of the process. People see it as like a risk-off asset, and so being that most pairs in the crypto space have some exposure to Bitcoin, people will kind of rebalance based on their current sentiment, their current assessment of what the market's doing, where it's going. And so, they'll move into more of, let's say, a less, risk off position. Something will change, then, they move more towards a risk on position. That rotation happens all the time across, different markets. So I don't see it as anything other than kind of the season.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's just, it's one of the most stable cryptos out there, that in Ethereum. Just, it is what it is. All right. Let's move to a question by Terry Moore. So, what is the best way for me to get involved in building an ecosystem? Courses are starting points. Well, courses are always good, and we have quite a few really nice tutorials from community members about various different things like coding and Ergo script, just utilizing different parts of the ecosystem, using and minting NFTs, or whatever you want to get yourself involved in. Um, you know, I mean, getting involved in the ecosystem, to me, it's somewhat bespoke because if the ecosystem is robust, there is no one answer, right? There was like, what is the best way for me to get involved? It's up to you. I mean, it's bespoke. So what interests you? The first thing, of course, you can do is, do some reading, check out the Ergo platform website, check out the YouTube videos, figure out what really interests you, and then kind of dig into that subject more. Is it DeFi? Is it NFTs? Is it is it the smart working with smart contracts? Is it community? I mean, that's also something that you can do. You don't have to actually do coding to be really participating in the ecosystem. You can do community. I mean, blockchain and especially Ergo is very big in community. So different things you can do for the community that are also, those things are also really useful. So I would say, just to kind of get an understanding, and this is actually something I actually had a conversation about on DMs earlier today about a new Ergonaut that just joined the community apparently, and they were just kind of asking about where to get started. Yeah, so get started with the Ergo website, learn about the ecosystem. I mean, I know, Terry, you've been here for a while, so this, for you it's different. Obviously, it's bespoke, but just in general, learn about the ecosystem and then find what interests you and then dig into that. And don't forget to ask questions. I mean, don't be afraid to ask questions. Don't be afraid to reach out to other community members. And I think it'll be fine. And then you can figure out what to build an ecosystem. If you understand the ecosystem, you see what's going on in the ecosystem, you'll understand where the gaps lie, where there is some sort of debt that needs to be filled by new innovation, and build there. It's just, and like I said, it's again, I keep repeating myself, but it's different for everybody. And again, I'll bring myself in as an example because again, I'm a strategic advisor to the foundation, of course, because of the different things that I do and my connections and whatnot. But also, I am an Ergonaut, and also I needed to find my place in the in the ecosystem as an Ergonaut, right? And so I thought to myself, what interests me the most? And what interested me the most were commercial adoption cases for Ergo. And I then decided to put together Zengate so that we could address these commercial use cases for Ergo and build products that are designed to bring commercial adoption to Ergo. But again, that's me. For you, it could be something completely different. For you, it could be art, right? You can get together with Mr. Foe, the Ergnome guru, and just do some artistic stuff, do an art project. You can do some music and music NFTs. There's so much stuff to do. So just don't be afraid to kind of jump into it. What would be your advice, Joe?
No, if you want to start something, know where you're starting from, know where you want to go. Right. And then I guess break it down to proof of work, make it tangible, and then start your grind one step at a time.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. All right. Let's move on to another question here. This is a bit of on the spicy side, and not the question, but the drama. So, any thoughts on the popular BTC Maxi YouTuber Bitcoin University calling Ergo a dead project in his most recent video? Well, I mean, I haven't seen the actual video, but I believe it. Bitcoin Maxis are special. Uh, he's engagement farming. Like, is it a dead project? Obviously, it's not. We're here. We're building. I'm building an ecosystem. Other people are building an ecosystem. There are things happening every day. Joe is doing something in ecosystem every single day. Every week, he's got new things that he's doing in ecosystem. So obviously, we're progressing. Bitcoin maxis are it's this borderline mental illness in some people. They just have no ability to kind of spread out their thinking. I mean, I even seen Bitcoin maxis, and some of you know who I'm talking about, come out and this is not the only one. I've heard this argument before, and I just think it's incredibly moronic. But to argue that Bitcoin is not crypto. So this particular person was saying, they're not buying crypto, they're buying Bitcoin. Bitcoin is the one that they want. They want crypto. It's like, yeah, but Bitcoin is crypto, though. What are you talking about? It's like they just, it's a kind of I mean, you saw, Big Mike, golden laser eyes, Mike Sailor. He's always going on about Bitcoin and just standing under Bitcoin's window with a boombox, playing Shock the Monkey. It gets screwy. So I would just, he can say whatever he wants. He's wrong. If anybody believes them, let them do whatever they want. No, I will shed no tears for people who believe that kind of stupidity. Yeah, that's all I got to say about that. What do you think, Joe? Have you seen this video? I haven't seen this video.
I've seen part of it, actually. My first thought is, hey, they've heard of us, right? I'll take the win. In terms of crypto as a whole, man, there's so many stupid fucking YouTubers out there that, are the experts, self-proclaimed, and they've never built anything, right? They've never really participated. What they do is they create some meme or narrative around some thing, and then they push it, and usually there's some, nice face thumbnails associated with it. It's one thing in this space I've always found ridiculous. I think that if you're going to find a teacher in life, find someone who has accomplished something, or, let's say creates an example, right? And, the whole mentality of like, oh, I'm an influencer because I make noise. Is ridiculous, right? And I don't know how anybody takes that seriously. Okay, so let's say the biggest complaint usually about Ergo is that the trading volume is low. It's because we don't wash trade, right? Like it's not that hard to figure out if you really take a step back and you say, okay, well, you have an asset that's distributed across market. There's a very small float that's actually, publicly available on any given day. And somehow, some projects are turning over their market cap on the daily basis. How does that happen without some kind of wash trading or volumizing pass the asset from one hand to the other? There's a lot of shit like that in the crypto space. And I have no issue calling it out. So, it's like, well, we have organic growth. If you look at our volume relative to market cap, considering where we sit in like the overall asset side, we did pretty damn well, I think. Now, is it true that, we turn over our market cap every day on a daily basis when you have, less than 1% floating on markets? No, but that doesn't really happen organically, right? And nobody really asks that question, right? It's a trade metric that a lot of the experts, love to talk about without even looking at it. So I can't give it too much credit. Is liquidity dry in the crypto space? Sure, it's one thing that right now I think is a problem across the industry, but that's just the state of the space right now. Is Ergo always the easiest asset to buy? No, because it costs a lot to list on exchanges, right? That's not a something that they do based on the quality of technology. I mean, look at like
Yeah, no, they base it on the quality of how much money they can siphon out of that ecosystem.
That's what it is, man. You know, I've had exchange agents straight tell me like, listen, you guys have great technology, but there are things right now that are sexy and hot, and if we sit in the middle and take a fee, you know, short term we'll make a bit of money. Long term, everyone will probably lose their money. But at that point, you know, we'll have converted the profits that we took, and you know, it'll have been a profitable venture for us in the short term. And it's like, you know, that's really a bad way to retain users, in my opinion. So, it's what it is.
You know, but you got to really kind of realize it's still. I mean, we're kind of still in the wild west of things. You know, it's it's like you know the whole thing with the SEC. Instead of kind of coming in and trying to actually legislate normally, they're going to brute force themselves in. Like, oh yeah, we're here to show you how to do things. Yeah, all of your securities, all of you. You know, it's like, well, you're security and you're security and now you're a security, and I don't give a shit what you say. I mean, that's what happens in the Wild West of things. You don't get, you know, you get these extreme reactions and you know, extreme responses. And you get extreme players too. You get controlling players that are you know that are not there specifically for the good of the ecosystem. It's not a very democratized ecosystem. It's you know it's what our communist forefathers taught us about in the Soviet Union as crony capitalism. Although their definition of crony capitalism was different and really messed up, and they were idiots. But you know, it's kind of like, you know, it's capitalism, but it's not. It's more like, it's not really capitalism. It's more, I guess, opportunism and profiteering. And that's just, I mean, that's what it is. And there's an ethical way of doing it. There's an ethical way of doing business, and there's a bullshit way of doing business. And a lot of business that's being done by the larger entities that basically have control over assets, you know, and what happens to assets, like exchanges, for example, centralized exchanges, they just engage in this bullshit because they try to siphon as much liquidity out of it as possible and turn as much profit as possible. And while turning profit by itself is not a bad thing, it's about how you turn that profit. That's where that's what matters. You know, yeah. It's not a black and white thing. So but I can go on about this all day long.
I think at the bottom line, it comes down to, you know, you have the ability to protect your users and provide them a great experience, or you have the ability to be predatory. And in that sense, it is pretty black and white, in my mind anyway. But the truth is, you know, Bitcoin Maxi, you know, called out Ergo. I'm glad that they've heard of it, and I hope they make more videos talking about how dead of a project Ergo is. So then people, you know, try to look at the corpse and realize maybe it's not so dead. Is what it is, right? You know, it's funny to me how you have all of the, you know, memes. Let's separate money from the state, and then, you know, the SEC comes in and they're sitting there cheerleading the state. It's a comedy in my mind.
Yeah. Well, actually, we have this kind of, you know, some people talking about it in the question. So it's not a security, but somehow Cardano hired a securities lawyer. Can Bitcoin do that? Cardano didn't hire anything. Cardano is an ecosystem. It's like saying Ergo hired a lawyer. Ergo didn't hire a lawyer. The Ergo Foundation can hire a lawyer, but that's just an entity within the ecosystem. So yeah, let's not kind of get ahead of ourselves there, guys. Most of this right now is a witch hunt. Most of this SEC stuff is a witch hunt. There are some assets out there that are highly centralized and can be, especially, you know, the like the VC coins. Those could be, those could be the classified as securities a lot easier. But assets like Cardano, like Ergo, no, it's not. It's just not. And Bitcoin, yeah, no, Bitcoin can't hire a lawyer, but like a body in the Bitcoin ecosystem, a large player in the ecosystem could hire a lawyer. So, yeah, it's it's really not going to get anywhere until sane legislators come in and actually start doing work instead of pointing fingers and trying to look cool in front of potential voters in 2024.
I think we need to probably like take a step back and be realistic that in the crypto space right now, there's a bunch of security experts, right?
Oh yeah.
And the
suddenly everybody's a security expert. Suddenly, like we have like Twitter is full of security experts now.
The truth is this, all right? At this point, everybody is ghost fighting because they don't know where the position of the SEC is or is going to land, right? And one thing I don't like to waste my energy on is ghost fighting. Once it's known, once there's like positional clarity, okay, then you can move forward, right? Then you have an ability to say, okay, well, this is kind of the board, or this is where things are in current space, right? And then you make a plan accordingly. But when you're running around with no clarity, you're ghost fighting, right? And there's a ton of people in the crypto space right now that are ghost fighting and trying to position themselves based on an unknown, which in my opinion is a waste. It's a waste of energy, waste of time. I'd say, the Ergo ecosystem, let's keep our head down, let's build. And at some point, there will be positional clarity. We recognize that, we look at that, and then we make a plan moving forward, right? But, in terms of wasting your time, I'm not a big fan of ghost fighting. I think it's a waste.
Yeah. It is a waste. So, and here's an interesting question. Hi, guys. Coinbase advertises that listing is free. What is the actual fee to list it?
Listen, I'll take this for you, Dan. The fastest way to cure a disease is to change the name, right? That's just the truth. The fastest way to cure a disease is change the name. So there's a ton of let's say people in the crypto industry that work with partners that will say, "Oh, we do not charge a list fee.
Mm-hmm.
We charge we charge a marketing fee. Totally different.
Right,
totally different.
Right. Yeah. We've been through that before, haven't we, Joe? Through the marketing. We don't do integration fees, but we need a marketing budget of an X hundred thousands of dollars.
So I can't give you the actual list fee because the reality is, I would say probably it's going to change project to project. It's probably not something that has a standard thing, although some entities do have standard sheets. But it's true. They don't charge a list fee. They call it something else. The quickest way to cure disease is change the name. So then they can run around in the public and say, "Oh, no, we only list high quality assets and we charge no fee for listing." And then on the back end, they just rebrand it, right?
Yeah. It's it's a clown show. It truly is. They can call it whatever they want. They can call it a blueberry muffin fee. It's still a listing fee. Because marketing, right? So you get somebody charging a marketing fee. So hey Joe, last time I got charged marketing fee, was there actually marketing done with that money?
No, don't even bring that up, Dan. That hurts my heart dealing sometimes with exchanges, because the truth is, okay, if I were to have a project, Dan coin, right, and I mint Dan coin for whatever the cost of minting is and whatever ecosystem I come from, the actual cost of production for that token is negligible, right? It's very low. And so at that point, I could potentially go to partners and say, hey, I'm going to give you a certain percentage of Dancoin because it's this new super sexy, exciting asset. And here's a portion of my token that, the cost to me is essentially nothing, right? It's the mint cost. Well, when you're talking about a proof of work network, right? Ergo is backed by the work of miners, right? There's an input cost into that. And so, the ability to just say, oh, here's a percentage for you, and here's a percentage for you, and here's a percentage for you. And then day one, you get this nice VC project that, boop, all of a sudden is listed on every single exchange. How does that happen? Greece. There's no other way to put it. It is what it is, right? It's the state of the space, so I get that they advertise that and it sounds really good, but you change the name, same disease. And in reality,
it's bullshit. Yeah, we call that bullshit.
Marketing. That's it.
Yeah.
And the truth is, if the listing was free, I'm pretty sure that the exchanges would openly advertise, like, hey, these are the set parameters that we want to see for listing, right? You never see that. If I were to say, hey, I'm going to add assets onto my exchange for free, I would want a set parameter that I would let my users know and say, hey, all the assets that I list for free have cleared these certain requirements. You never see that. Instead, you see, Bitcoin gets listed because, it's popular. It's trending right now on Uniswap and, somebody got paid.
Yeah. It's like I said, man, it's the Wild West. It's like, the quickest and the blingiest gunfighter wins, the most money. That's what it's about. And hopefully it'll change. Hopefully it's not going to change with a bunch of government mommies coming and wiping our asses, but hopefully it'll change soon for the better. But I'm not holding my breath. So here's another interesting question. So in case of war against crypto, how would you describe the battle readiness of Ergo? What are its strengths? What would you like to see more of to improve Ergo's chances of emerging from war victorious? What is the battle readiness of Ergo? I think it's pretty good, and I'll tell you why. Decentralization. It's just, look, it's the same as this question that we had a while back about Tornado Cash, and can they do the same thing to Ergo Mixer? They can try. They won't succeed because, Ergo Mixer, there's a bunch of different Ergo Mixers out there. It's like you take down this instance, another instance is going to pop up. It's open source. The same thing with Ergo, and we're a really decentralized ecosystem. The Ergo Foundation is really one of the least funded and the most, the most accomplishing, the most action-driven foundations that I've ever seen. When you have other foundations that are worth like $1 billion, you got Ergo Foundation basically out there just grinding, for the ecosystem, building the core, doing other things. So I just think it's just the fact that we are how we are, as decentralized as we are, makes us battle ready. Because what are they going to do? What can they do to us? They can throw around whatever they want, like U.S. law or whatever. Well, we're not really on any U.S. exchanges, so that's not really going to be that big of a deal for us. We got a legal opinion, so the Ergo Foundation did get a legal opinion from the U.S. on Ergo, and to show that it is actually it's not a security at all, and it's in line with the laws of the U.S. But again, it's a decentralized ecosystem, so it's like where do you start? There's no central point to hit. There is no Polygon Labs to hit. There is no Ripple to hit for these regulators. So I think that's where we're at. I think that's that's really strong for us, and I think we'd be fine. What improvements can we make? I mean, look, just decentralize even more, grow even more. That's really the only improvement that I can think of. Just grow more, decentralize more, build more, take as much control of the ecosystem as you want, as Alex Kushti said. Yeah, I mean that's what I think. Well, what do you think, Joe?
No, I think our strengths are proof of work on the GPU side and privacy, right? GPU proof of work is extremely hard to stop because it's consumer grade hardware, right? You can go to, let's say in the US, you can go to Best Buy or, basically anywhere, right, that sells computer parts, and you can potentially participate in consensus. That's huge because it's, pretty broadly available. And the truth is, even on secondary markets, right, you can always buy used equipment, scrap it, rebuild it. There's a lot of people out there that do that because they have the capacity to, get hardware very cheap that way. Second is privacy, right? Having privacy-oriented tools, well, that's what they're there for, right? If you want to break the linkability between the user and the funds, we have the tooling to do that in terms of the ecosystem. Proof of work in a way is pretty good starting point because you basically, pick up an asset with no KYC, right? It's your work. It's not, something that you have to buy on an open market. And I think that's a much more robust starting point, just because it's anonymous. Then you say, okay, well, if you want to see improvements, what are the two most important improvements? I would say P2P ramping and the ability to use Ergo for kind of economic good for, services, goods, and create kind of a velocity of Ergo in terms of real economic use cases. I know that an example I saw on Twitter, GetBlock was advertising that, hey, we're going to, work with our local farmers and have the ability to buy produce and perhaps meat or honey or things like that using Erg. That's awesome, right? You have let's say you build an economy that is Erg based. It gives people the ability to use it more as money. And I think that as it's used as money, it becomes harder to stop because there's economic utility there. So, the best thing that people in the community can do is say, hey, well, what are your skill set? What, goods, services, etc. can you potentially offer and accept crypto in that if you're going to be, investing, money there anyway. I think it kind of makes sense to use the tools that you naturally have available and invest your energy there in a different way. So I think that like long term, that's something I would love to see is more goods, services, which ultimately is velocity, economic utility, and use. So you could go back to Terry's question at the beginning. If people were to contribute to the Ergo ecosystem with very little, let's say, desire to get involved in the tech, you can simply accept it as goods, services. And that's huge for the network because then, people can, it's basically greater flexibility of spending, right? Everyone loves to talk about, let's say ramps in terms of, I want to convert it to, my currency and then use that currency to then, buy goods and services, right? Well, maybe we should start cutting out that exchange step. That would be pretty cool to see.
Yeah. No, all good points. All good points. Anyway, let's move on to some more questions. We've got a few really nice ones. Okay, so we got one. Oh, here's one from Vision, who is Glasgow. Who's
So
Glasgow?
Glasgow,
Who is John Galt?
yeah,
That sounds
Glasgow.
like, who's John Galt?
Like an artificial intelligence that runs our chats and organizes our documents. Some people call him Glass Google. He was not created by Google. It's an in-house production.
Yeah, and it's not just an AI; it's an AI that speaks to you with a Scottish accent. It's amazing. It's like I feel like I'm in a not too distant future. I actually got a message from Glasgow today, and it sounded like a real person. I can't believe that's an AI. Joe, what will they think of next?
It's hard to say. Glasgow's a good dude. He's done a lot to help the Ergo Foundation in terms of documentation and community. And if you look at our chats, everything is bridged together, and he's really done some great work.
He's very organized.
Yeah.
He's he is the one that kind of tells us how things should be. Yeah, he's like this. We have a CEO of the ecosystem named Jenny, but I would say that Glasgow is Glasgow. I say Glasgow, but whatever. He's the COO, the Chief Operating Officer of Ergo. Yeah. He's the one that's going to yell at us if stuff is in disarray.
No.
Yeah. Anyway, let's move to. Oh, okay. So let's. Okay. So Wendy Moon is asking, what do you guys say to people who might start to lose faith in Ergo because of lowering price at the moment? It depends on what they're here for. If they're for miners, yeah, it's tough right now. It's not profitable. For just regular holders, I mean, it depends on where you guys came in. Again, that's speculative ends of things. But what I would say is, I mean, to miners, really, I think at this point in the market, to really still be mining Ergo, you're thinking about the bigger picture. You're thinking about the long run. You're thinking about, okay, once we're out of this market, where are you going to go? You're thinking long term. And so keep thinking long term. Keep thinking about it, because this is the bottom of the market right now. I mean, things always look bleak at the bottom of the market, but the good thing about the bottom of the market is that is the bottom. So you can only get so bottomy at the bottom. So just listen, don't lose faith, keep at it. Think of the long term, think of the bigger picture, think about what you're adding to the ecosystem and what kind of ecosystem you're adding you're adding your time and efforts to. If you are a builder in the ecosystem, I mean, I don't see price really changing that. To me, price doesn't really matter for what we're building. We're still building it. We're still utilizing the tooling in the ecosystem, because look, the tooling is the same. The tooling doesn't change with price. So you could still build whatever you want in the ecosystem. You can still be successful. You can run a successful business within the ecosystem and utilizing the tooling of the ecosystem. So yeah, just think about the bigger picture. Think about what you want to accomplish, and just stick to it. What are your thoughts, Joe?
Well, I don't know why you would need faith when the code's open source. You can just follow different projects in the ecosystem or core protocol development, and you can see for yourself progress being made. Now when you're talking about like speculative assets, let's say something bigger than us, like I don't know, Safe Moon or Elon Doge Mars or things like that, right? You need faith, right? You need faith that more people are going to come in and move it. Now, in terms of like the progress evolution of Ergo, it's open source, right? You just follow it. So I don't think faith here is necessarily the right word. You could say, okay, well, like market traction, maybe, is more what you're speaking to, since you're speaking of price. But that's something. It ebbs and flows. It consolidates. Narratives change, and there's a lot of stuff in crypto that they present this sleek and shiny narrative with all the buzzwords and all the things that are sexy in the moment, and then they never really go anywhere, right? With Ergo, what's the goal? To create a programmable blockchain with clear assumptions. How do you know that's happening? The code's open source.
Yep, there it is. It's actually that's a really good point. You don't have to keep the faith if you can see what's going on, and you can see what's going on. You see all the tooling, you see all the code, you see all the traction in the ecosystem. So, take it for what it is. Yeah. All right, let's get to another question. It's a question from Luca D'Angelo. One of our, he's been working on other projects as well, but I am, I'm glad to have him working on Palmyra with me. So Luca is asking for UTXO said bootstrapping. How far back in the chain do you need to go? How far back, Joe?
I think you froze, Dan. You want to re-ask that?
I froze.
Yeah, on my side.
Really?
I don't know. I'm looking at the red signal in Zoom, so hopefully then we stay.
I'm not frozen. I'm actually pretty hot right now. I think I got a fever.
Oof, I have to look. I know that Alex was talking about that in the main chat. I know he's been testing different parameters for probably the last month, playing with different syncs, playing with time and thinking about security assumptions. I'm not 100% sure where he's landed in this latest. Looks like, let's see. I'll try to find it. I know that he's put it in the chat recently where we ended up. It looks like snapshots are taken every 52,224 blocks. And that's where we landed.
I was trying to make it look like I'm frozen, but I can't because I keep blinking. Hold on, let me try it again. I'm just kidding. I'm not frozen. All right. Well, yeah. So, what was the verdict there? We got to ask Alex.
No, I think in the latest is 52,224 blocks. But there's only a select amount of nodes that have the snapshots at this point. But that's something that he's been playing around with the parameters for, I'm going to say probably about 4 or 5 months, as he's been building this. So we'll see. I think, it's something that we have a game plan now. It might be refined in the future. I'm not sure.
Yeah. All right. Let's see. What's a nice question? Well, I think maybe we have one space for maybe two more. So let's see. So Ursa Minor will be selling foot picks for Erg. Yeah.
You know what? It's a gooder service, right? I don't know the quality of it, but who knows? Maybe there's a market. Good luck.
Well, hey, Ergo's got NFTs, cheap to mint.
Good luck.
Erg foot gnomes. What would it be? Erg foot? No, Erg foot. No, anyway. We got to think about it. Erg feet. Yeah, Erg feet. Yeah. Anyway, something like that. All right. Let's see. All right. So, okay. So here's a question I think you will like, Joe. Can you elaborate on a comparison of the current leading POW crypto out there, checking the way to go and the future of Ergo?
Probably the leading proof of work is Bitcoin, right? And so it's like, okay, well, what's the unique characteristic of Bitcoin? Is the security of the network. Just that simple. The amount of ASICs that are pointed to that network is impressive, right? As a global computer, it is pretty sweet. Then you could say, okay, you have other things, let's say that are interesting. Some, it's like, hey, we're going to have signatures that are fast, right? Okay. I mean, there's a lot of that. It's an interesting use case. Fast signing, fast settlement. Ergo is about programmability, right? And I do think that programmability long term, you have the greatest diversity in terms of the ecosystem you can develop, in terms of DeFi and all of these different use cases. So for Ergo being, programmable proof of work, there's not too many out there that I'm aware of that are kind of positioned in just the diversity of programmability that Ergo is, which is unique, right? We're in a unique space. There are some other ones, we can look at like Lithium from, the UTXO Alliance. They're kind of similar in terms of having some programmability. So there are some other small projects that are interesting, right? But in terms of the leading, what do you got? Bitcoin, Litecoin, Ethereum Classic, maybe Ravencoin, Kaspa. In terms of programmability, that's not really their jam. They have other things, which, okay, good luck. But in terms of like Ergo's primary focus, it's about programmability with clear assumptions. And I think that in terms of, let's say, long-term building value, there's a huge opportunity there.
Yeah. All right. Let's see. Dan, why are you and Joe so cute? Well, years of practice, I guess. Do you agree, Joe? I mean, is that, or is it like natural, or like what is it? Are you naturally adorable?
I don't know.
Indeed. All right. Okay, so here's a nice question. All right. So are there any ways to optimize the network in regards to transaction throughput? What do you think, Joe?
Sure. There are certainly different solutions that we've been looking at in terms of the 6.0 roadmap. There's a variety of different scaling solutions that Ergo could support, right? But there's one thing that everybody I think needs to pay attention to when we talk about throughput in crypto. And it's the most important thing, demand, right? Like if we have a network that can, handle a trillion, billion, jillion transaction and has 7 users, what's the point? Right. And so, one thing that I would love to see is where there's really demand for greater throughput. And that's something that, as an ecosystem, we can set as a goal. Now, we had periods of network congestion? Sure. But as a whole, I would say, that's something that it's still something we're working towards, right? And what you'll find is being that Ergo, has a fee market, is that when we really approach the point where it's time to have a serious conversation about, scaling and throughput, that will show up in the network in terms of cost. So in terms of projects, there are actually only a few at this point that have the level of activity needed to really get serious about having the throughput conversation, right? Now, in terms of marketing, it's sexy as hell to talk about trillion, billion, jillion transactions, but if you have no users, what's the point?
Well, it's not just that. I mean, it's also about, I think you've mentioned it. It's what's inside the transaction. What is this transaction, right? Um, I was, this is years back, but I was talking to, um, it was an Indian company back probably like 2017, maybe. And, I was basically the business development arm of IOG at that point because we didn't have business development. We didn't have anything over there. So basically, people contact Charles. Charles would tell them to contact me, and then I would basically be sitting. There was a time for several months there where I would literally be in back to back to back meetings all day with people just trying to reach out to us. And so there was this one company that they said it created some blockchain at that, but like they had like a layer one they were launching. But it was all done on mobile devices, and they were saying, "Oh, we can do 80,000 TPS."
Yeah, that used to be the marketing thing back in the day. Is like, who has the higher number? And it's like, okay, that's great, but
yeah, but like the transaction size was like,
nothing.
I mean, like in the words of the late great Jack Lemmon, even a loud fart will give you a concussion. It's like it's just so small, like there's no point. That's why the UTXO model is so attractive, because it's really about what you put inside the UTXO, and not really about the amount of transactions. Because, well, number one. I mean, even with big networks like Ethereum, like has it even remotely come close to, say, the TPS amount, the transactions or the workload of, say, the Visa network?
Mm-hmm.
No, it hasn't, because there are just not enough users on there, like you said. So and there are a lot of users, but there's just not enough users to really make that a thing. In fact, I don't really think there's been any layer one out there really that kind of, was so overloaded that they were like, oh my God, I wish we had more TXs.
Yeah, it's, as a basic principle, it's like, how many boxes can you fit in the back of a van? Well, what are the size of the boxes, right?
Exactly.
It's kind of a weird thing to ask, because it's an incomplete question. What kind of transactions are you trying to move? No, it is true that that's something that, every network needs to kind of have a plan for long term in terms of growth and adoption, and we do, right? We can optimize layer one. We have a variety of layer two solutions that are possible and will make sense in different applications depending on what the applications are, and what the users want and what the costs are, and but in the short term, I remember 2019 where everybody wanted to have a million jillion, TPS. That was some good marketing back in the day. Oh, and, yeah. What did it actually convert to? Not too much, and then I guess you can also look at the amount of block space that, when consensus is on chain, that's going to always, take a certain amount of space, right? So it's something I've never seen the metric for different proof of stakes, one to the other, to the other, to the other. How much space does just the net consensus in terms of staking, unstaking, withdrawal, reward distribution, that kind of stuff? What does it take? But that would be an interesting metric to look at, because, that's something that could be potentially concrete. We're more proof of work, so it doesn't necessarily make sense, but it's an interesting question.
Yeah. I think it's about, we're about at the top of the hour here, a little over, but I'm going to leave it with this question, or a statement. Joe will never say anything nice about himself, will he? Will you, Joe?
I don't toot my own horn. Not about that.
Well, there you go. All right, guys. I think that's all the time we have today. So once again, thank you for the great questions. Thanks for joining. And we will see you here, same time, same channel next week.
Nope. Have a good one, everybody.